in Galilee, in Israel. Just a few hours ago, right behind me, few Israeli fighter jets took off. In fact, we saw the takeoff. They circled above us and headed all the way towards Doha, Qatar, to eliminate the entire leadership of Hamas in Doha, Qatar, a country that already on October 7th blamed Israel for the massacre, a country that shelters Hamas, harbors Hamas, and even assists Hamas. Qatar is Hamas forward with any deal, and in a brilliant maneuver, President Trump put on the table a deal that caused all the leaders of Hamas to gather in one room. Until yesterday, not all of them were in Doha, Qatar. Some were in Turkey, the other hosting country of Hamas. And at the moment we learned that they returned from Turkey and they managed to get back to their headquarters in a specific location in Doha, Israel decided to move forward with the green light from the White House, and not only that, with the active assistance of the U.S. reconnaissance planes and could be even British one as well. Maybe you can see a video that of the minutes of those 13 precision-guided missiles that hit that place. There is no chance for anyone that was in that building to have survived. Ladies and gentlemen, the smoke, the booms, the sound, everything could be heard and seen from miles away. Israel again eliminated in a daring operation, eliminated almost the entire leadership of Hamas abroad. We're talking about all of their delegation that is meeting with the Iranian foreign minister and all the Arab leaders around the world. Again, ladies and gentlemen, major drama in the Middle East. Israel struck in the heart of Doha, Qatar, the headquarters of Hamas, and most likely eliminated the entire leadership of Hamas abroad. Literally, there's no one that is left to talk to right now because there's almost no one left in Gaza also. And even their legendary spokesperson was eliminated a few days ago. That's the villa. That's the room where all of them sat around a table to meet and discuss the Trump deal that was on the table, ladies and gentlemen. So again, big news, drama in the Middle East, where the terrorists thought and discussed the Trump deal that was on the table, ladies and gentlemen. So again, big news, drama in the Middle East, where the terrorists thought they are sheltered and safe and secure. Israel surprised them. A quartet of Israeli F-16s made it to the heart of Doha. We saw them taking off, by the way. We guessed that it's neither Gaza nor Lebanon or Syria because of the direction that they took. And I told my team, folks, this is an interesting thing. Ladies and gentlemen, an hour and a half later, we heard the booms. This is the map if you want to more or less understand the distance that the Israeli fighter jet had to take all the way from Israel to Qatar, to Doha, to the actual headquarters of Hamas in that city, in the capital of this terror harboring country. This country is a country that is bribing every person they want to buy. This person is a country that, with money, is spreading hatred towards Israel, anti-Semitism, hatreds towards the West, hatreds towards America. They own more assets in London than the royal family. And this country harbored Hamas and was behind Hamas's refusal to negotiate a deal with Israel. And so we decided enough is enough. In a brilliant move, President Trump 3 days ago proposed a deal that Israel today accepted, and Hamas had to come together and look at it because President Trump asked the Prime Minister of Qatar to push Hamas to at least take a look at it. Little did the Qatari Prime Minister know that that was a brilliant move to bring them together into one room so we can finally get them. Now, all of these people were gloating on October 7th. There is footage on my Telegram channel where you can see them all giving a prayer of praise and thanksgiving to Allah during the massacre of October 7th. All of the people that were in that video and footage, all of them have been eliminated. And again, folks, a daring operation of the Israeli Air Force in the heart of Doha, Qatar.
Leadership hiding in Qatar as explosions shook Doha, Qatar's capital, after Israel launched a precision strike targeting senior Hamas leaders. This is an unprecedented move, clearly intended to send a strong message to Hamas that even outside of Gaza, they are not safe. And here's what we know so far. Senior Hamas leaders, two of them were targeted, both accused of orchestrating the October 7th, 2023 attacks and overseeing Hamas's ongoing war. Israel maintains the strike was necessary to defeat Hamas and bring accountability for October 7th. Qatar has long been accused of sheltering and funding Hamas leadership. This appears to be the first known Israeli operation inside Qatar. An Israeli official said the U.S. was informed in advance of the strike. And Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the attack on Hamas in Doha was a wholly independent Israeli operation. Joining me to discuss this stunning development, CBN's Chris Mitchell from Jerusalem and CBN's George Thomas as well. Gentlemen, thank you for being here.
Great to be with you, Dan. What a day.
Yeah, great to join you. Yeah, no kidding. My goodness.
Chris, let's start with you in Jerusalem. What is the significance of this? Tell me what you know and then just what it all means.
Well, what you said already, Dan, what we know, we're just learning more information about what this is. But these are the men who orchestrated October 7th. You may remember there was a famous or infamous video on October 7th of the leadership of Hamas looking at what was happening on Al Jazeera TV, rejoicing and praying. Almost everyone in that room apparently has been eliminated by this strike. Ismail Haniyeh, the leader of Hamas, he was targeted in Tehran sometime last year. But if you look at the leaders that may have been eliminated, Dan, this is stunning. Khalid Mashal, he's the head of Hamas abroad, the head of Hamas in Gaza, the head of Hamas in the West Bank, a member of the political bureau, the two members of the political bureau, the chairman of Hamas's Shura Council, the deputy chairman of the political bureau. This is the leadership of Hamas. Most of the leadership in Gaza have been eliminated. Just last week, they eliminated the head of the propaganda arm of Hamas, and before that, Yahya Sinwar, Mahmoud Def, just on and on. It's stunning, and it also goes through what Israel has been doing to Hezbollah. They eliminated, decapitated the memberships, the leadership of Hezbollah. They did the same thing in Iran. This is just a stunning development. That they would actually do it in Qatar itself is really remarkable.
Yeah, George, your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, let's give our viewers a little bit of context, right? So Qatar is right in the heart of the Middle East. It's a very, very strategic U.S. ally. We have a major U.S. military base just outside the capital of Doha. And why did Israel carry out this targeted attack in the capital of Doha? First time that they have done this. Back in 2012, Hamas leadership, all the men that Chris just mentioned, all their top leadership, they were living in Syria, and they were basically being protected by the back then president of Syria, Bashar al-Assad. But then in 2012, there was a rift between the Bashar al-Assad regime and the Hamas leadership, and there was a deal struck that the Qataris were involved, that the Hamas leadership in 2012 would move from Damascus, and they would move to Doha, the capital of Qatar. And since 2012, the top leadership has basically lived in this very beautiful, very expensive, very ultra-rich Middle East kingdom, right there in the heart of the region. And they've been protected by the Qataris. They've been allowed to flourish, allowed to make billions of their dollars, living in luxury, while Palestinians living on the Gaza Strip didn't have access to food, didn't have access to water, didn't have access to electricity. And since October 7th, there's been this back and forth negotiations with the Hamas leadership, U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff, others members of the Biden administration, other members of the Trump administration were shuttling back and forth between Washington, D.C. and Doha, sending their mediators to meet with Hamas leadership in Qatar. This week, Donald Trump gave an ultimatum to Hamas that basically said, we have laid out another proposal. We have sent it to the Israelis. The Israelis have agreed to the terms of a potential ceasefire and a 60-day truce in exchange for the 48 remaining hostages in Israel, in exchange for Palestinians who are held up in Israeli prisons and so forth. And basically, Trump said this week, this is the final warning that I'm giving to Hamas. This is it. You guys need to come on board. You need to come to the negotiating table, and said, but we are not doing any more negotiations. Hamas came back and said, we've received your proposal. Let's think about it for the next day or two. The leadership of Hamas was in this building this morning in Doha with the lead negotiator of Hamas, talking about the details of this proposal when this attack happened.
This mind-blowing portable SSD
Israel, for the first time, launched an attack against Hamas in another country, just to give you the context. And it's very significant, as Chris had just mentioned. You have Hamas now, with the report, we don't know the reports yet, but Hamas leadership, total leadership, potentially wiped out. Hezbollah's total leadership, all the big dogs of Hezbollah, wiped out. You've got the Houthis on the ropes. You've got the Bashar al-Assad regime in Syria basically out of commission. The only folks who are still in the game and is at the head of the snake is the regime and the leadership of the Islamic Republic of Iran. And if I was Ayatollah Khomeini right now in Tehran, I would be very, very concerned about my life.
Yeah, I mean, no counter proposal coming back from Hamas after these meetings, apparently. And apparently, Chris, that is the point. And so when we look at what George just laid out and what you just laid out, and we saw the statement from Netanyahu saying this was a wholly Israeli operation, but we saw that they also said that the United States was informed just briefly, like not a long time before this was about to happen. What do you make of the timing of all that and those statements? What do they mean?
Well, certainly the Netanyahu government wants to make sure that this is not a U.S. operation, it's an Israeli operation. But to your point, the U.S. was informed, so President Trump obviously gave the green light. And I think George's point is well taken. Trump gave the last warning. He said, this is your last warning. He did the same thing with Iran. He gave Iran one last warning before those B-2 bombers actually went and hit Isfahan and Natanz and those nuclear sites inside Iran. So we were just talking to Eugene Kontorovich. He's an international lawyer based here in Israel. And he was saying, well, you need to take Trump at his word, because if he gives you a last warning, you better take that seriously. So a huge change in the Middle East. And right now we have, 50,000 maybe. They've called up 40,000 reservists in maybe 5 divisions that are waiting to go into Gaza City right now. So it looks like undoubtedly there's going to be a major push into Gaza City. The leadership there in Gaza City is basically had been eliminated as well. So now where do they go? That's a huge question. Prime Minister Netanyahu is saying they're going to go in with major force. So, and he was warning everybody in Gaza City to get out. The one last question remaining, and I think they've already sort of calculated this, what will happen to those 48 hostages, both living and deceased? That remains to be seen whether or not any of them can be rescued alive. But it seems like definitely this is the last step before Israel goes into Hamas's last stronghold, Gaza City. It looks like we might be seeing the beginning of the end for Hamas and Gaza City, as well as the leadership there in Doha.
Can we, a lot of people have lost focus on the hostages that are still there. Do we have any sense, guys, either of you, if you've seen anything lately, any reporting on how many are actually alive? Do we know if any of them are alive?
Wanting to avoid
Dan, are 48 still remaining, 20 still alive, although President Trump said just a few days ago some of them may have died recently. So we